Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting story that's been developing in the past couple of weeks. Initially reported by Ming-Chi Kuo, Apple will be cutting production of the iPhone SE as it seems demand isn't really there, so it's a little bit of a sales flop. And of course this has been picked up by a lot of the media and widely reported because, well, Apple's always in the news, be it good or bad. Apple is always at the center of the news cycle. People are interested in the company and their products, and as such, every single move is widely reported and discussed. Now, as a small word of caution here, these kind of articles seem to pop up every single year regarding various Apple products and their success or lack thereof in the market, so take everything that we're going to discuss today with a big grain of salt. Also, before we get any further, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Now, what are the reasons for which I see the iPhone SE as a potential flop? First of all, it's the elephant in the room, the design. Now, most reviewers have said it looks exactly like its predecessor from 2020 or just like the iPhone 8 before it. However, the reality in the eyes of most casual buyers is it's actually even older than that. The iPhone SE copies the design originally introduced by the iPhone 6 way back in 2014, and in tech years, that's like an ice age ago. The phone looks old on the exterior and it shows. People simply see the new iPhone SE and say, well, that's just like the one before it. The only immediate difference they could spot is the 5G and the branding. And let's be totally honest here, 5G is cool, having greater download speeds is a big plus, but I don't think it jives particularly well with the iPhone SE for a couple of reasons. Like, where is 5G going to be the most useful? Obviously, when streaming media or when gaming, these are the examples that come to mind, none of which work particularly well with the SE because it has a tiny 4.7-inch display. And the dated external design goes hand to hand with the second reason: Apple held back. They could have gone a completely different way to make this product a success. The first option they could have chosen was simply go with the iPhone XR. They removed it from sale last year in September with the launch of the iPhone 13, and they just could simply stuff the internals of the SE into the frame of the iPhone XR and call it a day. That phone had all the advantages. It has a massive screen that's 6.1 inches compared to the iPhone SE. It could have housed a bigger battery inside. It also still retains a single camera system, so no real competition to the more expensive iPhone 13s. And it's also a phone that could have been relatively cheap because, if I recall correctly, last time it was on sale it was about $500 or so. So Apple had all the tooling necessary to make the phone already still there in the factory. They wouldn't need to invest a ton of money in R&D and would have probably designed a winner here. The second option is a bit more wishful thinking on my part, and that would have been to use the body of the iPhone 8 Plus. The Plus variants of the iPhones were actually pretty popular. They were the pro options of their day. I was a big fan of the iPhone 8 Plus, which I used several years ago, and I consider that to this day my first real iPhone. What were the benefits here? Well, obviously, people don't really like small displays. The iPhone 13 mini and 12 mini before it don't really sell that well. So by using the 8 Plus body, they would have given users a 5.5-inch display, which is quite a bit larger than the 4.7 on what we actually got. Granted, it's not as large as more modern phones, but still would have given users a little bit more reason to pause and consider it. Also, the massive size of the iPhone 8 Plus body would have allowed Apple to stuff a really massive battery inside, making it a battery champ. Obviously, the phone would have retained the massive bezels on the front, but that would go well hand in hand with keeping Touch ID around to satisfy the fans of Touch ID who don't really like Face ID. And I personally would have been super interested in that phone. But Apple chose to go with neither of those options or any other possibility and just kept it very conventional. They just refreshed the 2020 model while also making it $30 more expensive, which goes with the third reason I have for it being a flop. The phone market has moved on since 2020. In fact, the mid-range smartphone market is extremely competitive with tons of options everywhere. I'll give you just two Android examples that I personally really like. First, you have Google's excellent Pixel 5a, which I think is a great phone. It has a larger display than the iPhone SE at 6.1 inches if I recall correctly, takes amazing photos and videos, has all-day battery life, has Google's excellent support for its Pixel lineup, basically everything you would want on the Android side of things at $450, so really competitive from a price standpoint. And let's say you're not a fan of the Pixel lineup, then you can go with Samsung's recently launched A53 5G, for instance. It costs the same $450 as the Pixel 5a. It comes with a massive display that's AMOLED, has 120Hz refresh rate, has multiple cameras, also has great battery life, and to top it all off, comes with 4 years of software support, as Samsung has claimed recently that it will offer 4 versions of Android to its newly launched smartphones. So all in all, those two phones pop up to my mind as excellent alternatives for the iPhone SE. And if you don't like Google or Samsung, well, easy. You can pick a phone from OnePlus or Xiaomi or Realme or myriad different brands that all offer pretty compelling devices around that price point. And if you're a fan of iOS, for instance, and really need a modern iPhone, well, then you still have options. If you're one of the apparently few people who buy small phones, you can look at the excellent 12 mini from last year, which I reviewed multiple times here on the channel, used as a daily driver, and I absolutely loved. Sure, the battery life isn't going to be tremendous, but you get a dual camera setup that's actually pretty cool. It has night mode included, it has a large 5.4-inch display, and at the end of the day, it's actually even smaller. And in terms of pricing, while sold new today by Apple, the 12 mini is actually still more expensive than the SE. You can always buy used or refurbished, and those offers are really more competitive. Moving on, if you dislike the relatively poor battery life of the 12 mini, then you can look at its newer brother, the 13 mini, which has better battery life overall, and it's basically a refinement of the 12 mini before it. Granted, it's a little bit more expensive than the SE, but again, if you shop around, are willing to go refurbished or used, you're gonna find pretty decent deals because, well, apparently according to a report, the 13 mini ain't that popular either, with it accounting for just 3% of total iPhone 13 sales in the US, for example. Also, if you're not a fan of small iPhones, spoiler alert, most people aren't, then you can simply go for the iPhone 12, which again sold really well last year, is still being sold brand new from Apple, again, slightly more expensive than the SE, actually quite a bit more so, but again, the 12 can be found refurbished or used at prices that approach the price of a brand new SE. So the reality is, due to that $30 price increase, there are now a ton of options out there that compete very well against the iPhone SE. However, having said all of that in today's video, having shared with you the articles that I've read, I do believe that if you are a fan of the iPhone SE, you are aware of its shortcomings and are willing to take a chance on it, all of what I've just said should be good news for you, because if the phone isn't particularly popular, you are going to find more deals for it, which means at the end of the day, you as a consumer get the profit from all of this. The iPhone SE is still, in my mind at least, a decent product. All the phones I've mentioned today as competitors or alternatives have their own downsides. On the Android side of things, as far as I'm aware, there's no mid-range Android phone that has a chip that's anywhere comparable to the A15 in the iPhone SE. On the iOS side of things, in order to reach the price point of the SE, you will most likely have to shop used or obviously refurbished. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Is the iPhone SE a flop? Do you consider it a failure from Apple for not moving on from this design? Or do you still view it as a quality phone? That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and sub to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.